Hi, welcome back everybody to the Cinemen podcast. If you haven't already, please hit like and subscribe. That is great if you do that for us. Alex is in character for this episode, but before we jump into this movie that we're going to talk about this week, I want to talk about a couple things. So, this is our last episode for Action Movie August. Next month, not September, but when we skip ahead to October, we will be hitting a year. And so as we go into hitting a year, there's a couple things I think that we both want to do. We'll probably do a short episode to wrap up like our top 10 movies that we've covered so far, things like that. And those will be for patrons, at least for a while, if not exclusively. So you can check that out by going to the Patreon link down below. One of our first movies from last year, not first movies, one of our movies from the beginning of this podcast, when we were in December, is Violent Night, and Violent Night 2 comes out. I saw the trailer for it last week. Did you watch the trailer yet?
Yeah.
It looks awesome. It looks like it's going to be very different than the first one.
That's true. It does.
But so I think we're going to have to do an episode on that, whether it's a bonus episode or not. I think Logan wants to see it. I think we have to go do that episode. So those are a couple things I wanted to kind of announce ahead of time. But yeah, if you've been watching along with us for the last almost year, we got some things coming up that we hope you will enjoy. And we'll talk more about what's next month, September, is going to be at the end of this episode. So with that, let's dive into this week's episode. If you haven't guessed by the title or by the look of my friend Alex's whole getup, we're talking about The Matrix.
We're talking about The Matrix.
Okay.
This is a big film for me, for my young film days, my young film fam days, but also something that kind of evolved for me over time for what it meant, and also like the topics that are in it. So I'm excited for this. Our theme for this episode is reinventing a genre, or sort of, what do you think? Like creating a genre almost?
No, I would almost say we're talking about action movies for August, right? And it's almost shifting it is its own subgenre, obviously, but it's also kind of changed. This movie did adjust what we thought of when it came to action movies going forward. And that's kind of what
and
I
how
want to
the
talk
money
about.
was. Yeah, like it changed how they were filmed. It changed how the money was spent.
It changed
There was
the way we, the character archetypes. We haven't talked about it much, but like the 80s was like the muscle bound guys, right? It was Arnold and Stallone, and then going into the late 80s, early 90s, it was Bruce Willis, where it was the quippy, like, that, and Lethal Weapon, where it was like the funny guys that were like believable action stars. And this movie takes us into this other realm, where there are moments, I guess, that are funny in this movie, but overall, this movie is not funny the way action movies had been.
True.
It also, I think there's a level of, it took what was a more international action movie aesthetic and brought it into the US mainstream. Well, in a second we can dive into all of, fuck it, let's just dive into that part.
So our theme is reinventing a genre, and like you just said, there are major ways that action films were planned, shot, and, well, like I said, where the money is spent is like the kind of things that were spent on special effects were shifting away from all in the studio or all in post to some of it on location, to some of it using more specialized equipment. Bullet time became its own entire like thing that spilled over into television and video games. And we're not talking about there were Matrix-themed video games, because there were. We're talking about other video games that did not have anything to do with it, would have slow down time to more fastly move around the map kind of
Right.
functionality. So there were major changes to how this film adjusted the way action is approached, because this film didn't invent cyberpunk, it didn't invent kung fu, it didn't invent anime, but it had some elements of all of those in it. And even there was an entire, it's harder to find now, but there's something called the Animatrix, which were in world themed animated shorts that were inside like the Matrix lore.
Mm-hmm.
And it was even freaking cool for me.
Yeah.
So in 1999, mainstream audiences hadn't really seen cyberpunk and all of these other like things jammed up into one film like this. And then on top of that, have the cast that this did.
Mm-hmm.
That was the other big part for me.
So, okay, I want to talk about obviously, you said bullet time and the technology. And bullet time, we don't see much of it now, but it was huge. Like they were using it in music videos.
So music videos, yeah, right, exactly. Pop culture,
video game movies like Max. What was the one with
Max Payne?
Max Payne. Like there was so many things where that like the technological advance from this movie kind of affect things. One thing that I think is interesting is if you look at the years leading up to The Matrix, outside of action movies, then you get there are movies that I would say are more similar to the plot of The Matrix in that way. So you have The Net and you have Conspiracy Theory, but these are all more almost those movies from what I remember, it's been a while since I've seen either of those, for example, are stylistically more akin to like a John Grisham novel movie than they are to an action movie. And so this movie takes that concept where it's like there is this big, overarching detailed conspiracy. It's not terrorists are in a building. It's not like it's there. It's a more nebulous bad guy. We have Agent Smith, but we have the idea of the Matrix and taking down a system, which is those things existed in, like I said, like in those John Grisham style. Like I would say if you watch The Net or Conspiracy Theory, they're way more similar to The Client than they are to Lethal Weapon. You know what I mean? That's what I mean when I say they're like that. And I don't think of those movies as action movies the same way. Whereas Lethal Weapon is undoubtedly an action movie. Die Hard is undoubtedly an action movie. The Matrix is, I think, undoubtedly an action movie, but it has 100%. This other element to it. And I also think that when you look at the actual like 1 to 3 year span that this movie comes out, and there's a lot of things kind of touching on this. There was Gattaca, and I think Gattaca is, from the people who remember it, I think it's well remembered. I think it's considered good, but The Matrix is still is like the standard bearer, right? Like The Matrix, it's 26 years later. We just got our 4th movie a few years ago. We're getting the 5th movie. It is still like people, 1999 is a huge year for movies, and The Matrix is a massive part of that. And it's not one of those, there's those movies that were great at the time that everybody kind of goes, this movie isn't one of those. And I will say, like, effects wise, when you talk about effects wise, I would say 75% of the effects in this movie are still stunning. The lasers and shit aren't so great. But like there are still amazing parts of this that hold up.
The pyro's good. The destruction of pieces of the set is good.
Yeah.
And the creative usage of lighting and costumes. And when I say costumes, I mean a lot of the costumes that are worn by the 2 main characters or all the 3 main characters are impractical for what they're doing.
Right.
But they add so much because they have reflective surfaces or long flowing backs on like the jackets and stuff that it provides additional special effects canvas to create on, and a lot of times you can see like reflections on Carrie Ann Moss's outfit, and that's something that can help diffuse what would be tow cables or harness or other things like that. So
Right.
there's a lot of these creative use that I enjoy that is still in place today, but a lot of it, again, it really did change how stuff is made.
I
Still,
also think one of the things, again, that I think this does, and I'm looking at this as an American from an American centric perspective,
yeah,
is it brings kung fu and wire work to American film
yeah,
in a way that it really had never been. When I just Googled it,
correct.
the Karate Kid is mentioned. Big Trouble in Little China is mentioned. I haven't seen Big Trouble in Little China, so I don't know exactly how much that is. But we had seen by this time, or maybe in the same year, we had seen things like Hidden Dragon,
Yeah.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, but those were movies that were made for a foreign audience that
I was
became
about to
big
say
in America.
they were meant to be a foreign film, meant for a
Yeah,
foreign audience, filmed, cast, and
right,
shot to be enjoyed by by an Eastern audience.
right.
To us as Westerners, The Matrix,
It
you're right, it brought that to screens, the zeitgeist, culture, all of that.
Oh, sorry, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon's the year after this.
Yeah, yeah, it came out exactly. It came
Okay.
out after this.
But like, and it's not something that we ended up seeing a ton of in American cinema. Although I just watched the new Spider-Man movie a couple weeks ago, or a week and a half ago. The new Spider-Man
Word
has
on the
some of
street
it.
is you like it.
Yeah, it's the best of the live action Spider-Man. But like there's some interesting wire work in that and kung fu work in that, and that's like really cool. I think Shang-Chi. There are some that, but it's still never been like huge, but this movie has it. And then it uses, and I, again, as somebody who's not super familiar with martial arts movies in general, I don't know how much the camera was just sit back and watch the wire work
Yeah,
before
yeah,
this, whereas we have there's the opening, or not opening, but one of the first shots where Carrie Ann Moss goes into that, and then they do the bullet time around her, and it enhances the wire work, like, because even though she's frozen in place, we know that's not the case, but she's still probably held up by a wire. She probably didn't actually land that move,
yeah.
even in the
And
thing, so
that
that
scene being dark helps obfuscate what otherwise would have been hard to hide. So
yeah,
there was modern work with the bullet time layer kind of
yeah,
over that, the slowing down layer over that, but a lot of the craft that the Wachowski sisters used was like a modern spin on make the scene dark so you don't see the wire,
right,
right? And that's exactly what was done. A
right.
lot of this is a dark film. There's very few parts that are light. And in fact, the super bright stuff is so striking when it comes out because
Hmm.
everything else is green, blue, gray, black, like deep, deep brown. Like it's not bright at all. So, the opening of this film, you see like your classic film noir kind of imagery, and even the way that some of the voiceovers are done, like you can feel a little bit of that,
Yeah,
voicing, not voiceovers, voicing. You can feel some of that. The action and some of the mystery, like taking down the mysterious bad that Neo doesn't quite understand just yet, and the way that mystery is revealed to him is just on that computer screen talking back to him. And
right.
even in 99, our computers didn't look like that.
Yeah. Oh,
So
Logan goes, that is that what they thought hacking was in 1999? And I'm like, it.
no, 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 it's not what they thought hacking was. I'm going to
No.
point out. Okay, do you know what everybody thought hacking was in 1999? What was
DOS.
the kinda? Do you remember the scene in Jurassic Park
Yeah.
where like the young girl, right? that's what people thought hacking was. They
Yeah.
thought it was little nerds going on a keyboard. Like
Yeah.
the nature of this specific film is, hold on. Give me a second. I said the name and I can't think of it. There it is, William Gibson. So
Yeah.
William Gibson is the author of the cyberpunk genre. Don't think the video game Cyberpunk 2077. I mean like Isaac Asimov, the cyberpunk genre, which is very much what the game is kind of based around,
Right.
and this movie. So cyberpunk sits in
Neuromancer.
Neuromancer, Johnny Mnemonic, which also starred Keanu Reeves.
Mhm.
It's literally my favorite genre that has ever existed, and it has this weird nostalgia kind of a spin on it. And so him using that super old computer that looked like it was a CRT with an IBM Model M keyboard, like it felt very intentionally out of place because Neo's character isn't well integrated. He's sort of like an outsider, so he wouldn't have very high technology things. This is
Right.
what he's got. And cyberpunk definitely has this feeling where things are pieced together. But in Star Wars, there was literal pieces of garbage that were used and painted as set pieces, literal trash. Whereas in this movie, it was old stuff that was intentionally put in scenes to make someone like Logan, now your son, think what I did in 99. Like, why is he using my dad's computer? What?
Yeah.
Like, it was intentional.
Yeah. So I want to talk for a second about my experience watching this movie this time. So I had never seen all of this movie until last night.
I am so pleased. I am so
So
pleased.
it's one of those things where I had seen a large chunk of the second half.
We're in our 40s. Of course we have by
Yeah.
now.
Well,
And you even
and,
more than me because you're a film fan.
right. Well, and also it's been this movie, speaking to, it's so ubiquitous that like it's
Yeah.
it's not even like clear, like it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I didn't realize because it's been in my head, like I didn't realize how much of this I hadn't seen.
True.
And
Okay.
I went and saw both sequels in theaters with friends because this one was so big that we were all went and saw them.
Yeah.
And I never felt like, oh, I missed out on, so I didn't, part of that also I didn't realize, that I had missed out on all of that. So I put on the movie. Logan had been asking for a while to watch this movie, and I was like, sure, like whatever. So and then when you kind of threw this as one of the ideas for, I'm like, let me make sure that he'll watch it with me before we pick this. But yeah, and we started watching it, and it was great to. Sometimes it's great to watch movies with him, because I get to see an audience who hasn't had everything spoiled. So he had like heard of the red pill,
Yeah.
blue pill. He knew, but he was like, he didn't quite get yet. Like, so he was watching it the way an audience would have watched it in 99 in a lot of ways. There were memes and stuff that he knows about, but he overall
the
hadn't.
memes have lived on longer than the damn, or they're probably going to live on longer than the damn film.
Right.
The
But they also,
entirety of the entirety of your son's generation
right.
has an entire like political / social movement based on this film's like text and lines.
Yeah.
The red pill movement is specifically tied to this film. And it's interesting because everybody that's really into that movement was not young enough to see this.
Well, it's also interesting because a lot of the red pill movement is that like manosphere thing, and they're it's
exactly that's exactly
a very
what it is.
transphobic movement, and the two people who made it, it's a metaphor for seeing the and when he and knowing that now and going back and watching it, when I'm pretty sure it's Morpheus talking about like the itch on the top of your mouth that you can't stop, like whatever it was, and he's like, it's that like, and it's like, oh, that is how, and it's chicken or the egg, maybe, but like I've heard like that as a similar things described as a way to describe what it feels like to be a closeted trans person, right? And so like
Yeah.
that was interesting. Again, maybe trans people have taken that metaphor and said, oh, that's a great way to explain it, or maybe because the Wachowskis are both trans, they like again, chicken or egg. But that was great. But yeah, seeing it.
Are you ready for the embarrassing thing?
Sure.
I first saw this film. I was a big churchgoer when I was a teen
Yeah.
and in my 20s. I basically like church and religion was an entire day. Like you got to church at 6 or 7 a.m. because mom and dad were in choir and I was in youth group and then there was mission work and all of that. And you didn't leave until like 7 p.m., the area where the church was, because we had friends' houses we would go over to and all of this. I dated two different girls that were in my youth group. My brother dated a girl in youth group for a long time. Our two girlfriends were friends. I watched this film the very first time as a youth group event.
Right.
And not because they're like, let's all go watch the movie. Nah, this was like they were using it as Neo is a Jesus metaphor.
Well, I think he is in some ways.
I know, but just
including to the
all
fact
of that.
where Joe Pantaleone, when he's saying like, "Did he tell you you're the one?" and he goes, "Jesus," and like that's not on accident.
No, it's not. What I love is the Wachowski sisters make this film about Jesus. No, they didn't. And then, and then I see it first as a church thing. It was just funny how like that's my first exposure to this was as like a religion metaphor, and now hyper religious Christians think trans people are attacking them. Like
Yeah.
it is funny full circle ridiculousness, but that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about how the Matrix reinvented a genre.
Now that you say that about this movie, I could absolutely see churches showing this to young kids and being like, look, like the world wants you to think one thing, but Jesus is this other thing, and that's you don't take the red pill. Like I actually think that
100%, dude.
I can see it.
All of you're saying is all the stuff that our youth leaders told us.
Damn.
All of it. Yep.
Damn. Anyway, so yeah, watching it with Logan was really cool because I hadn't, I knew the basic, I knew so much. So like there were, the whole, how long it takes for him to like get out of the Matrix and all of that. I had seen bits and pieces of, but I had never really like seen the whole thing. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
But like Logan watching it and was like, kind of like what's, I want to show him The Sixth Sense because I don't think he knows the twist on that. Like, there's those movies where it's like your kid is the only person on Earth who you have access to see that new reaction once again to, and The Matrix was kind of that, and that was kind of cool. I don't think we need to talk about the plot of this movie, right? Like, this movie is so well known. If you haven't seen The Matrix,
quick general plot: Neo's an outsider played by Keanu Reeves. Neo gets contacted by who we expect is Morpheus, played by Lawrence Fishburne. And he is found to be the savior that is going to save the world. What do they actually call the world? There's Zion, but what's the rest of the world? Do they actually give it a name? I don't remember.
It's supposed to be Earth.
It is technically
cool
Earth.
They talk about
the machines have taken over everything. They're literally growing humans to harvest them of energy to run the machines. So very AI takeover interesting that we're doing this film now. But for me, the biggest thing to point out about the plot in our theme is nothing about it is new. Nothing. Every last specific film school you got taught it in your college 100 and 101 courses, it is there. But every piece that was implemented by the Wachowski sisters was done in a way that either intentionally or unintentionally kind of turned the wheel a little bit and took up some of the slack on the way that it's used, and then introduced entirely other filmmaking methods, not storytelling, to really frame it
Mm-hmm.
differently, to the point that the entire zeitgeist of tech, internet, cyberpunk, and future culture, it went from this like, do you know much about eras, like style eras? So in 99, do you remember what your Windows desktop looked like?
Yeah, roughly.
That style is usually called Frutiger Arrow. So it is a very specific style.
Okay.
This was so antithetical to what we saw as technology. And think about what your Apple iMac looked like back then. It was bright, it was colorful. Apple was trying to make everything not PC beige. This movie comes out and we're like, nope, it's all black, it's all green, it's all digital rain. It's things that look like bacteria that are going to go inside your belly button and root around in your body. Cars that
First, it looks
look
like a
like
big sperm, but
Lincolns.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I thought it looked like a bacteria with like the little fork ends on the tail, and all the cars are like Lincolns. They're like old square American cars.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest thing to remember about this film is it's better than all of the sequels.
I haven't seen the fourth one, but
Please,
yeah.
please, for the love of Christ, see this one first. It's not that the others are bad. They continue the story. The Matrix Revolutions and no, none of them are as good as this. None of them. I hope the
I
next one
want
is
to talk
better.
about that. I want to talk about that. I haven't seen the fourth one, but having watched this now, and again, having watched this, by the time I saw it, whatever I saw of it the first time, the
Mm-hmm.
sequels were either coming out or were already out or whatever. I
Yeah.
don't remember. This movie doesn't feel like its own complete story in the way that like Star Wars
Mm.
A New Hope feels like. If Star Wars A New Hope had come out and no sequel had ever happened, you'd be like, yeah, that's a complete movie. Like they took down the Death Star, so like that's a complete movie. This movie feels like
So you're saying this is
this is
almost
like
intentionally left open?
it feels like a prelude. It feels like like we get this
Okay.
introduction. It and some of that, again, this is one of those things where it's like I don't have any memory of a world in which of the Matrix without the sequels. I don't have any memory of that. And so like knowing the sequels exist and knowing what the story is of the sequels, this just feels like chapter 1. It does not feel like its own complete story, which makes me wonder in 1999 if people felt that way or if that's all contextualized to the fact that
Yeah.
it's a we've got almost 30-25 years of sequel information in our heads,
It's
right?
true.
And so I could be wrong, and I'm open to being wrong about that. But I also think like I think that if I had seen this in theaters in 1999, I'd have been like, so there's sequels coming, right? Like, and we expect that now with chapter 2s. We expect it to
Yeah.
like to be open ended. Like if you look at Star Wars as the other big one, like Star Wars A New Hope, complete story. Empire Strikes Back expands the story,
It does. Yep.
but like if Return of the Jedi never comes out, that feels like an incomplete movie. But we understand at that point, like, oh, we're getting a third movie, right? Like even though like there was no surety from the studio, right? Like the movie itself is like there has to be a third movie, and we've all seen that like cliffhanger where we don't get the movie because it didn't do well enough or whatever. But like usually that's on a sequel waiting for the third or fourth or fifth or
Yeah.
whatever. It's not
Very true.
usually on movie number one, and this really feels like like when he's like, okay, I am the one. Like finding the one doesn't feel like the story when they
Mm.
do that much world building in a movie. Like that's the other thing about Star Wars as an example is that like Star Wars doesn't do as much world building. The sequels do so much more world building. Like I feel like when you go back and watch Star Wars, you're like, this is so scope wise like tight compared to what it became in the trilogy, let alone expanding.
Can agree.
The Matrix, we know about Zion. We know that there's the party orgies. Like they like everything in the sequels is already laid out in a way that like we don't like. Yes, we hear about the concept of Jedi, and we hear and we know that Luke wants to be trained and Obi-Wan wants to train him, and we know a lot of those things, but we don't see any like what it is. But like with the Matrix, they set up so much ahead of like already that it feels like it's not like the same as like when you go back with the Solo movie, which I like Solo, but like, and it's like, oh, my name is I'm alone, I'm Han, and I don't have
Yeah,
a family. Oh, Solo, like
right.
we're not explaining answers to questions that never existed. It's like, oh no, you laid out all the groundwork for sequels. You laid out everything you needed in that movie, which
100%.
makes the trilogy in a way stronger. But it to me, it does make it feel like the Matrix One, the Matrix is not super standalone.
So, okay.
That should have been in the hot take section.
No, because I want to question that. Pull back a second.
Okay.
If the other films never existed, if the Animatrix was never made, if Reloaded, Revolutions, and Resurrection never got put on screen, what's your take then? Does the Matrix on its own feel unfinished enough that you'd still feel that way? Or because you know the other ones exist, that's why you feel that way?
I don't know, honestly. It's one of those things where I can't with a surety tell you. But I
say no.
I think no.
My hot take is it is its own film. At the end, Neo ascends. We're done. Like it doesn't feel open ended, and each character, even minor ones that are introduced to me, get explained enough that I either don't care, they died, or they were a small part and we've moved on. Like there's not a look at this person. Like for example, our last episode where we talked about the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare and the girl who was in the dungeon, the black girl who was in the shackles. We don't know anything about her. We just expect that was a black girl on Fernando Poe. We don't know anything else about her. And we're not really super curious about her. But in this case, there's not a character that's introduced. And it's like, wait, but what about? Like, I never felt that way watching this.
I think so. Like, there's so many things in this movie because the movie and this is both a testament to the movie and it's like showing that I think this movie is too big to contain in one movie.
I can agree with that.
We see Agent Smith talking about the previous iterations of the Matrix and how like we tried to make it a perfect utopia for all of you and you rejected it. And like so like that sets up for the concept. And then in the sequels, 2 and 3, I remember them saying it quite a bit of like, we think that this war has all been fought before. We think all of this has happened before. But like that moment sets it up. It also sets up what I'm assuming is the 4th movie because the first the trilogy was pretty complete, right? And then so we now have a 4th movie, which I haven't seen. And I assume is like, oh, there's a new iteration of the Matrix because there's always been these iterations of the Matrix. There was the perfect version, and then there was the 1999 version, and then but we get that's just such a testament to the vision, but it's also just like George Lucas had a lot of vision, and we don't see all of it right away. You know what I mean? And we don't there's no hints to Yoda or like there are the world building is done more piecemeal, whereas this is like you hear about people who've written backstories to their characters to try to get into character. Like this movie does so good at that I unfortunately think it makes sequels feel inevitable. Because while Morpheus and Trinity are focused on finding the one, there is nothing about this feels like finding the one is the battle. It feels like finding the one.
No, I'll agree with that.
Finding the one doesn't feel like the Death Star blowing up. Finding the one
Heard.
feels like finding Luke on Tatooine and getting him to Yavin.
Okay. So for you, this didn't reinvent the genre in the way that it like made a sequel, because a lot of action films are sequel pushers. They are.
Yeah.
Very rarely does an action film, sort of when it's penned or when it's thought about, I can believe in maybe a sort of like shisty way, writers will intentionally make cliffhangers or unanswered questions in action films, because then you can make another one next summer.
Yeah, I don't
Like
think.
there's a little. I don't think it was intentional Wachowski sisters' work here, but I
No.
can see how that is. I can see how that is sort of like part of this genre.
Yeah.
Is sequels just are part of their makeup.
Right. So what you're talking about, I think, is legit about other movies. Is that like we're gonna put in something that we can expand upon. For me, this feels like when if you've heard George Lucas talk about how he had this 9-movie arc in his head,
Yeah,
or this huge story, and he had to like whittle it down to a chunk. And when he whittled it down to a chunk, it was
sort of well.
when he whittled it down to that chunk that is A New Hope. It's a complete story. And then
Fair.
once you get the bigger picture, it's a story within a big story. This feels like they had a
Okay,
great,
heard.
huge world building idea, and they probably
Which
were like,
they did.
we can't make this, so we'll whittle it down. But by whittling it down and including the lore and like trying to make this world feel lived in and real, which they do so amazingly, it just doesn't feel like the story is a story. It feels like it's part of a bigger whole, and in some ways that's good, in some ways that's bad.
Okay,
Anyway,
heard.
I will say, like, I think that the effects, the effects of the Matrix work. The effects of the real world don't work for me that well. Like
I'm curious now.
the little like octopus, squid, spermy things work. The lasers look terrible. In 2026,
Okay.
there are it feels there's a lot. I actually think kind of and again, I've seen enough clips of stuff cyberpunk that I think that some of this is probably on purpose, but like the weird like look of the tunnel that they're flying through, it doesn't work for me entirely. I also like are they supposed to be subterranean on Earth, or are they in space? Like that never is clear to me. And like so like that doesn't.
Well, okay. It is lore specific. They are subterranean, and that's why. Oh my God, what's the name of the submarine? What's the
The
name of the ship?
Nebuchadnezzar.
The Nebuchadnezzar. Oh yeah, but probably that's the other reason that my church probably thought that this was super Jesus-y, is all the fucking names or half the names are biblical. Um, the Nebuchadnezzar is a submarine. They call it a ship, but it is a submarine, and it's going through tunnels that I'm pretty sure Morpheus said previously were used for Earth, because the idea is if you look at the Matrix iceberg, and not like the lore iceberg, but like a literal cross section of the world. Up here on the very, very outside crust is the Matrix. It's where Neo saw the girl in the red dress. It's the real outside world that you and I are currently living in right now.
Right.
And then as you go layer down, you get to Zion, or you get to where the Nebuchadnezzar, that layer where they were moving and could move in and out of the Matrix easily into the real world and then into the fake world. Are like the lasers okay? How about the scene where Neo is speaking to Morpheus? One of the most famous scenes where there's that huge expanse of white. Are you saying like
No,
those
that works amazing.
Okay.
I'm saying
Okay.
like everything that's with a couple of like small exceptions of like the special effects of his mouth and like the goop, like the bullet time, the expansion of the world, that all works perfectly for me, which is like 75% or more of the effects of this movie, right?
That's
so
true.
like and ultimately you have to say like something that's 27 years old is not going to look amazing with
Was
a
it
bunch of
shot on
effects.
digital?
No,
It
nothing was
was
shot.
celluloid.
Nothing was shot on digital back in 1999. I
Well,
mean,
I didn't know if they,
no feature. The first feature film to be completely shot on digital was Attack of the Clones, 2000,
okay.
2003 or two.
35 millimeter? You're kidding.
No.
Not even a large format. So it was all ARRI, no shock, especially back then, and it was
Yeah.
Panavision lenses. Okay, so this didn't age well when you're talking about those things. I agree with you, and also
I mean, and that's just
the
nitpicking. Like, that's
yeah,
what
I know,
that's.
yeah, I
I'm
know.
not trying to be crazy about it.
I really think that now you're having me think about some of the real world scenes, and I'm like, wow, some of them are a bit choppy. Like when I'm thinking back in them,
Oh, I actually, yeah, I just think like that couldn't work very, like it couldn't because they easily that I mean that's part of the benefit of it's reversed, right? Like all they
Yeah.
had to do in the Matrix is film the real world, like our real world,
Mm.
and add some special effect, no, the bullet time effect is something that if you get like 400 GoPros you can shoot. Like it's easy, right? It's once they establish that concept and it looks great and there's no improvement needed on that concept, and you can adjust it so that you do the full circle. You can do a line of them. You can do like to make it like motion look weird. You can do all those things, the easy, and then basically that's the big effect in the real world or
Mhm.
in the Matrix. The real world of the movie is the most fake of real life. And you have
It's
to
sort of intentional,
you're
no?
building sets, and that's such an interesting vibe too, in the fact that like it is inversed, because the thing that should be, theoretically, the thing that should be
Yeah.
harder is this, like, oh, we're making a whole digital world, and it's like, and we're going to film it using the real world, and then we're going to make a whole real world, and we're going to film it with digital and sets and like the
Now you're
computer,
starting to get
and
now
it's
you're getting into the cyberpunk like side of this where
yeah,
the created is the world that people were nostalgic for.
yeah,
The real world is this like almost technical hellscape
yeah,
that has been taken over by a machine or a dictator or a company or an entire race of people like that's where the Matrix and the lore that's around these films, that's where it did not reinvent anything. Where it reinvented stuff is like the Asian martial arts and moving those into a modern container. And it's not the science fiction part of it that the Matrix really reinvented. It changed it changed the grammar, like how we speak about it
yeah,
or how we show it. That's what really it changed it, because it's not like a polish, really.
right,
It's a different layer,
yeah,
almost like there's Zion, the Matrix, or the Zion, the Matrix, and then all the real believers in between. It was the Wachowski sisters putting this like entire other piece of bread on the outside of the sandwich that when you look at it on a cross section, you can see all the different things. When you're looking at it from the top down, it's like, oh shit, that's a whole different slice of bread. And then when you turn the movie and start looking at it more, you notice all of the traditional action movie pieces, the slices are there, but the wrapper is what's completely changing this film.
all right. So I have a hot take, but if you want to go first, I'm fine with that as well.
No, I want to hear you because I'm the one that has a love for this film, so I want to hear you. I want to hear you trash talk my child.
Hot takes don't mean bad. Hot
I
takes just
know.
My hot take is this is one of the oldest movies I'm aware of where I thought the bad guy, not Agent Smith, but Joe Pantaleone, is right. I think like when he was
Oh
talking about
shit.
when he was talking, like, like you've heard about, like, oh, like the bad guy in Black Panther, and they're like, well, yeah, he's right. Like, they shouldn't be hoarding all this technology and advancements and peace and all the other
Hmm.
things. And there's lots of movies where we're like, oh yeah, no, the bad guys are Joe Pantaleone. Like, I get I do get Morpheus's point and all of their point about, like, it's not true freedom, it's not, this and that. But it's like, what is the difference between the illusion of freedom and freedom if the illusion is
Good point.
so all encompassing? And the idea of,
And
like,
feels so good.
when I know, like,
Like
when he said, like, I know that the steak is just, ones and zeros, told making me believe that it's delicious, but I want, like, it
but it's
is
delicious.
it's delicious, and I'm tired
Yeah.
of eating
So
goop on,
yeah.
in being cold. And it's like
So
ultimately, I think there is, like, if you look at the Matrix, the concept, like, not the movie itself, but like the concept where there's a bunch of human batteries who are given good lives, and they can live good ways, and they can live how they want
what's
to
wrong
within
with
this.
that? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, like, this movie, if not, if this wasn't the original concept for it, I apologize, but, like, the idea of um simulation theory, like, let's say we are in a matrix right now, and the alternative, to me living with Sarah and Logan, and getting to enjoy pasta every once in a while, and getting to enjoy all the things in life that I like, or I can be woken up and put on a fucking cold chip where, I choose this. Like, I choose this. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, that makes 100% sense to me.
That is that I like that framing because it's really the idea. If this manufactured reality feels great, why is it worse than the real world
You're right.
that has sucky shit in it?
Yeah. Now,
And I Morpheus is one of my least favorite characters in the Matrix
oh, okay.
trilogies, or the Matrix films, because I am such a nihilist in the way that I approach the general public. Serendipity people who think do it for the right of the thing, do the hard thing because it feels better. I
Hmm.
think they're flawed humans,
Hmm.
because if there's a way to get your end result differently that doesn't harm anybody and uses the tools at your disposal, and you're genuinely happy, what does it matter if you walked up hills both ways to get there? I
Yeah.
don't care that you had all that strife. It doesn't matter to me.
Right.
My experience is what I'm concerned about. Now, in the Morpheus example, in the situation of the Matrix, in the world that the Wachowski sisters created, because they were the writers as well,
Mhm.
it isn't all sunshine and rainbows. Like
Sure.
there is real the people who are made into the human batteries. There is a real meat bag that is experiencing less optimal life conditions so that a digital avatar of them can have sex, eat steak, get married, have children, have a job, be famous, be strong, be beautiful, like all of these things that the cyberpunk world brings to fruition, better living through chemistry and technology kind of stuff. There's there's these ideas that the I want to see how deep the rabbit hole goes kind of people, they're the dummies. And I like how you just framed that, because you think he's right, whereas my kind of like hot take is Morpheus is my least favorite character,
Mm.
because he's such a believer in the right thing to do that he put his crew and his friends at risk in classic action film genre, in classic action
Sure.
film trope. He put them at risk to get the end result that they want. And
Yeah.
there's true loss that their group experiences in this film
Yeah.
just to get there. So the
And
Matrix didn't like,
from a philosophical perspective, I think that there's an argument to be made both ways with
yeah,
the, like, you talked about the meat bag. Like, if my meat bag is not optimal, but, like, philosophically, I think therefore I am, right? Like, so, like, I
yeah,
am
yeah,
I am my consciousness. I am not this hand. I can lose this hand and still be me.
Yeah,
I cannot lose my consciousness and still be me. And so
true.
from that perspective, like if this some version of this is living in a red pod with mucus all around me and is like, I'm not aware that it's not optimal, so therefore I'm not suffering from that. And so like I
The
do
only way
understand it's a
you'd know is if someone told you. The only
right.
way you'd know that you're not experiencing optimal is
It's
if an outsider said, you know that you're not really here, Mike. You know that
right.
there's a dude in a glowy pink rose colored mucus goo, and there's something jacked into the top of your spinal cord
Mhm.
that you're experiencing all this for your meat bag, and your meat bag is just a battery so machines can create for you this reality you're not actually experiencing. I would
Right.
look at that person and say, and
Right.
what? What about
Right.
it? This coffee is delicious. Are you crazy? I'm
Yeah.
standing on Andalusia in the south of Europe, just enjoying how this looks.
Yeah.
I'm married. I'm enjoying a sex life. I'm enjoying this. I enjoy seeing my family. I don't care that there's a meat bag experiencing weird electrical pulses on a farm with thousands of other meat bags. So
The meat
what?
bag is being subjected to them. Is the meat bag experiencing them if the meat bag doesn't have consciousness and I am the
No.
consciousness and I'm not experiencing it?
Right, exactly.
Now, the part that I think I can understand with Morpheus and Neo and all of them is they weren't like, the reason they get out of it is that they were like, there's something not right here and I need to, so like, but and I think that
Yeah.
they are ethical in the way that they're like, we don't pull you out unless you are trying to get pulled out. And so
Yeah,
I
true.
understand that as aspect of it, but I'm just saying I understand Joe Pantaleone being like, I want back in.
Yeah,
I want to
I'm with
taste steak
Joe.
and think this is amazing steak. I want,
I, I am with Joe. Lawrence Fishburne's character, Morpheus, in here is he's like the kung fu master. I mean, he is a kung fu master, but he's the master for Neo in that kung fu style of film, the martial arts style of film. And he follows that trope of the hard work is worth the end result.
mhm,
But adding in this matrix thing where none of us are really here, well, the outside world, none of us are really here, there's the idea that he's doing this all as like true empathy. He's
yeah,
doing this all to try to, in the difference of like the classic dojo master, I want you to be the strongest martial arts master you can be so you can carry on my legacy and beat the bad guys. Like
right,
that's sort of what Morpheus is doing, but he's also thinking of all these people in Zion that want to truly be free and have their dance party, but then not become human batteries. So for
mhm,
me, the biggest thing that the Matrix didn't reinvent is science fiction. It reinvented what mainstream audiences are willing to accept
mhm,
from science fiction.
yeah,
That is the real, like for me, twist that this did is I dislike the Morpheus in other films that are science fiction.
yeah,
I don't like that character type no matter what. It isn't a Lawrence Fishburne or a Morpheus thing. My issue
no,
with the Matrix is the hot take really comes down to like cyberpunk already existed. Anime has already existed. Tech and hacker and internet culture already was there. None of this stuff was new.
right.
It got a new wrapper, and
Okay, I agree with.
eh,
I want to just touch upon that for a second because very rarely do we see something truly new being invented.
that's true.
Especially in art, most things are built upon the backs of others. So,
Yeah,
we talked
this
about,
is very much a this is very much
you
an
know,
example of that.
if you look at film in general, like before, was it D.W. Griffith or the Great Train Robbery? They didn't do cross cutting. Like you wouldn't cut like
Oh, okay.
it would be, okay, here's the story from perspective A, here's the story from perspective B, instead of here's scene A, scene B, which is at the
Mm,
is is going on at the same time. So, and then by the late 20s we have talkies and we have
Okay.
technicolor and everything is built upon everything else. And so when you talk about like, if you're the first person, George Carlin has this bit about if you're the first person to nail a fish to a piece of wood, some schmuck will buy it from you. Like a nail
Okay.
existed, a board existed, a fish existed. Like you just
You
thought to
just put,
do.
yeah.
You just put those things together. And so if you say, oh, here's some cool technological stuff, and here is the martial art, here's cyberpunk, and here's the martial arts of Eastern films for the Hong Kong and kung fu films of the last 10 years. We're going to add in some new technology and we're going to squeeze those together so we get the philosophy, the cool action, and the cool way of displaying the action into a new package. That's a new thing, even though those two of the three at least existed already.
Very
Like
true.
as much as like Tarantino does this a lot. Tarantino does very little that's specifically original, but he's the one who thinks to put it together. If you make a playlist, if you're a DJ and you make a playlist, you're not working with your own music, but you might be making, something that, music can, or sorry, art can very much be pastiche and still be a new whole thing. And that's why that's why things like fair use exist, so that we can show a clip in something, and we've
Like we're going to
we've
in these episodes. No, very
we've
much. Yeah.
structurally changed that by commenting on it, and we've done these things. So when you say that like none of these things themselves are brand new, that doesn't mean to me that the whole package isn't brand new.
Agreed. And in the case of The Matrix and what the Wachowski sisters created, it wasn't its own genre. And my other hot take, and this is going to possibly have this episode downvoted into oblivion, and that is that for me, The Matrix did not reinvent any of this, and it is remembered more as a, I mean, this is almost Dénouement, really, but it is more that The Matrix is remembered for its technological additions to the medium of film, more than it is as a science fiction film. And as a science fiction fan, specifically a cyberpunk fan, it kills me that there's so much meat here, and these actors are young enough to keep making these films and age with them.
Mm-hmm.
There is so much meat left on this animal, and the way that The Matrix hit that home run in 99 makes it so that if you didn't top those films with your subsequent releases, technology wise, all of the writing is for naught. All of the science fiction storytelling is kind of meh. I don't think that the science fiction storytelling is as good in the subsequent films because they created a monster. They created their own meatbag battery when they made Matrix 1, that when the sequels came out, the Wachowski sisters were probably like, well, how do we top this shit? Everybody wants the next bullet time, the next wire work, and the next slow motion, or the next CGI inside real life scenes. And we kind of did all that already.
Yeah.
And like, I am not saying there's as much to the cyberpunk genre as there is to like the NASA punk or like the space punk side of it, which is very much like what Star Wars has kind of evolved into.
Okay.
Is that like science fiction slash space fantasy kind of thing. Right? Space opera. So when you've got The Matrix, it's just got so much real left that they made such a great film with the first that the others suffered because of it. And The Matrix 1 is not remembered for being the story. Like we've talked more about what was used in that film technology wise than we have about the characters, or almost half and half, right?
Yeah, I think the
Because that's
characters
what
are strong. The story is strong. I do think that. I want to say this though, when you look at this movie, so let's look at this in the context of the Wachowski filmography. They've only
Oh,
made
I
two.
know. Yeah.
They've only made two movies that I think are bona fide hits,
Correct.
and one of them's a Matrix, and one of them's not a Matrix movie.
Also correct.
And so, like, I think that they had the they had the concept for the world, but like 2 and 3 are weaker. They're just drastically weaker. I
100%.
haven't seen 4. I don't remember 4. That being said, like, that doesn't mean like that. I don't think that's because the technological side was blown out in the first one. I think that story wise, that
So,
that Jesus figure is so much more. Superman, like there's all these the hero's journey thing of like, we need to find this person, is such a strong perspective. And
do me a favor and tell the audience what that movie is.
the other movie that's
Yeah.
a hit.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm not even seeing it on here. Maybe it did. Maybe they didn't even direct the one I'm thinking of. I thought they did.
What are you thinking of?
V for Vendetta. Didn't they direct that?
They did, yeah.
Why are they not coming up on this IMDb page?
They might be just a writer, because Lana Wachowski has writing credits on V for Vendetta, and I think Lily does as well. Here, let me check. Lily Wachowski. Yeah, they're both writing credits. I don't think they have directing credits, because the director for V for Vendetta is McTeague. Yeah, they wrote it 100%.
Well, I mean, it's an adaptation of a graphic novel.
Also true.
So, like, okay, so The Matrix is their one bona fide hit that they've written and directed. Then.
Right.
And they've had varying degrees of success. I think Sense8, which is a TV show that they created, was pretty well received. I think
Speed Racer was good, but Speed Racer is again an adaptation.
Yeah. Cloud Atlas is. I mean, that's the other thing, is almost everything else is an adaptation. I'm just so, like, unfortunately, it's hard to really see if you're a one-hit wonder or if you're, you know what I mean? Like, that's where I was going with that, is like, if Martin Scorsese had made 4 movies in a series and only one of them was good, we'd go, well, what failed with the other 3 movies? Because he's had 25 amazing masterpieces, right?
Right. So
Same thing with Spielberg,
pushes. Yeah, that fills more of my bucket point, and that is, they struck out so good. They made such a big home run with The Matrix 1 that Revolutions and Revelations and all of the subsequent sequels,
Relegations.
all the subsequent sequels could. I thought it didn't have a name yet.
No, I'm just joking. They're relegated to making another Matrix movie.
So really, like, they made such a hit that following it became difficult. And when I say make a hit, it's so in Scorsese's situation, his hit has more to do with directing, editing, visual storytelling. It's not tech, because a lot of times we've spoken about big technical prowess movies, and they've been about that, and that's it. The Matrix has, as I was mentioning, it's got meat left.
Oh, yeah.
There is an entire world that you could have built this to be Star Wars Junior. Like, I really believed it back then in 99, that this film and its tropes and its storylines and its overall presentation could have evolved to be like your Stargate 1, or your like your subgenre, or not subgenre, you're not as popular as the big one, but a lot based on. I thought it could have gone there, and it never did. It stayed as an on-screen, never television. Thank God, because I think they'd kill it if it was on television. Like, I don't think it would have gone well.
Yeah.
So I just believe that this film And the reason we made this episode's theme, not Alex gets in costume, but this theme is it reinvents a genre, is because they did that so well. That's what the audience wanted. They wanted more plussed up every time of that idea.
Yeah.
And the other ones not only didn't even pick or hit it, they kind of dithered under it a little bit.
Right.
And I would have seen this, I almost would have seen this as it would have done better in classic nerd formats. So if this was made into an animated series, the way that Cyberpunk was made into an animated series on Netflix, it would have done well. The Cyberpunk animated series that was based on the Cyberpunk video game did well. Edge Runners did good on Netflix. This would have been better if it carried on like that.
Can I give one more hot take?
Yeah, because again, you're talking about something I love, so I feel like Jason with aliens now.
This hot take is not about the movie. This hot take is about your look, because at a certain point you went to like that really bad like focus. Like I know that it will upload recorded, like the recording will be much cleaner, but right now you're very like gritty. And when it went to that mode, you started looking like Jamiroquai and not like the Matrix at all.
Virtual insanity.
So that's all I wanted to say as my other hot take. Let's go on to Dénouement.
Dénouement. I was watching the monitor. Okay, so Dénouement. Mike, do you recommend one of my favorite films of all time?
I do. Not just because you worded it in such a setup to yell at me if I said no, but also because I mean, if you haven't seen The Matrix, it's like, it may not seem like this to you, but like not to you, but to the audience, but like The Matrix is one of those like essential, like whether you like it or don't like it, movies, you should see it because it's part of our culture. So it is like seeing Titanic or The Godfather or or you know, Star Wars, where it's like it's so ubiquitous within our culture that you, like if you haven't seen it, and again, and you're not a 10-year-old, if you haven't seen it, like you don't understand a part of our culture. And so
but also what I like about it is it's not like when you watch it, it's not like you watching Clueless, where it looks like the era it's from. This movie looks fresh and fun in 26 because it was made in 99 about a fully fantasy area. The same way Dune's going to be fantastic come years from now because it's just its own world. So that's why your science fiction, I feel, can outlast live action or real film or real life film the way that other stuff, like you said, it's part of our culture.
I think your average person who liked Clueless in 95 still likes Clueless. Like I think Clueless is considered
they're flawed.
I think Clueless is considered a semi-classic. Like
no, it is. But when you watch Clueless, everything about it is its era. When you watch,
this feels like 1999 to me.
Ooh,
I don't mean that in a bad way. The stuff in The Matrix is 1999. The stuff outside The Matrix feels like very 1999 special effects.
All right. Good point. When they're showing him The Matrix, the outside world, a lot of that does look very much 99 because it was meant to ish. But when you see Empire Records, for example, because I'm a big John Cusack fan, when you see Empire Records, everything in Empire Records looks like the year it was made. The style, the language, the body language, the characters, the actors, their appearances, everything. In The Matrix,
I need to give myself something to cut out.
In The Matrix, in its wrapper, in its world, it's gonna look in its world. Like I'm not challenging you. I'm just trying to frame it as I don't think it looks, unless those outside scenes weren't there, the style of the main characters looks so what we thought the future was going to look like, but like a dystopian future. Like if Bezos' rocket had already landed on the moon, or Elon has already colonized Mars and we're human batteries letting them live forever. Like that kind of shit. If that's what we were experiencing, that's sort of what the Wachowski sisters wrote and created in this environment. Whereas I don't think it looks dated the same way that I guess I was interpreting what you said.
No.
I don't feel it looks dated. It looks like they wanted it to. Maybe that's more what I say. It looks like it was intended to. It looks like cyberpunk future because that is what cyberpunk looks like. If you've not seen the video game, that is what it fucking looks like. And more of the stuff that the original cyberpunk creator talked about is more present in the game because the game is usually allowed to touch on more iffy subjects than a movie is. For example, like using technology to implant things into you to give you superhuman abilities that you don't already have. The Matrix doesn't touch on that, but that's a major part of cyberpunk lore. That's a major part about what you do in the future is you augment your meatbag body to do things. The Matrix was more about, no, the machines don't care about your meatbag. You're just a battery. You're literally grown for no other purpose, and the reason they gave you the Matrix is so you didn't revolt.
Right.
That's why. And if you watch the Animatrix,
like the middle class,
exactly.
Oh, sorry, that's the other. That was talking about the big stuff that we talked about. That not on this.
Yeah. Well, it was, but if I know I brought up the Animatrix a couple times, but in that short film, because the Animatrix is actually a collection of short films, there's like prequels to what this is.
Yep.
And the machines at first couldn't get the humans to want to do all this, to literally become like energy slaves. So the Matrix was created as one of the ways to get the humans to want to let them take over the world.
Yeah.
It was one of the ways, like in Akira, the anime Akira, like that kind of huge dystopian technology future. The way that we got humans to want to do all this is we gave them better shit. But we didn't give them better shit. We gave them fake shit to enjoy, to think that their meatbag is enjoying steak, but really it's just ones and zeros.
Ratings. What do you give this movie on a on a fun and watchability level?
So fun and watchability, it's a 9, and that is because it continues to deliver action. It continues to deliver rewatchability, even though you know everything that's going to happen, because there is enough. To me, it's that same criticism I've given to some of the other films. There's enough going on in the background that I want to watch it again to see all those little details or to catch that thing that one character said. It's fast enough that you're looking forward to getting to the action sequence. You want to get to one of the Morpheus and Mr. Anderson fights, or the Neo and one of the Mr. Anderson fights.
Yeah.
But you don't want to just fast forward to it. Like you kind of want to watch all the bits. And then the other reason it's a 9 and not a 10 is because during our conversation, you talking about it kind of didn't set up well for its sequels, and now it feels a bit unfinished. I'm totally agreeing with you on that front. So that's where I'm like, okay, shit, yeah, it kind of did that. So that's why it's not a 10 for me. Because it is not a perfect film. Rocket Man is a 10 on fun and watchability. This is sitting in my 9s. This is with Aliens. This is with The Prestige. This is with The Game. This is with Hell or High Water. That's American Fiction. Like that's where this is resting because it's that fun to watch again.
Yeah. Okay, if you're okay with me doing this, I want to give my ratings together because they relate.
I like that idea.
Okay, so I'm going to say 8 for fun and watchability and 9 for quality. And the reason I say is it's been 20 something. I saw both of the sequels in theaters and I have never seen them again since. So I want to keep that in mind. I actually think there's a chance that the sequels could be an inverse of that, where they are worse quality, but they may be more enjoyable to watch because and you're just able to do the action and all the stuff. Whereas this movie has a good amount of setup, which I think is it does the setup so well that it's a really great
Mm.
quality, but it also there is like a bit where it's like, okay, I as a person in 2026 know all this. And so like this is, even though I hadn't seen it, I'm like, I understand. And now again, watching it in 1999, it was necessary, right? But like now watching it with the entire breadth of the Matrix, world in my head, I didn't need that. And so I think that like again, like if I watched those other sequels, I think it would flip flop to being like obviously not as good quality as this movie.
Yeah.
Possibly more watchable. The only downside is that like Joe Pantoliano isn't in the sequels, and he's fucking amazing. Especially
Agreed.
I loved him in this movie, but so it's not it's an 8, and an 8's really good. I'd love to make an 8. It's a fun movie. But there are parts that are it's like any other big series where you're like, yeah, I know how, I know that like how the Matrix works. I know how and it was great getting to watch Logan do it. But like, if I had been watching this by myself, I would have arguably wanted to fast forward through some of the beginning.
Okay.
So that's my ratings. Should we go on to trailer?
The beginning was a little rocky. I'm not going to fight you. No, because we haven't finished with my ratings. My quality is a 9, and the reason it's not a 10 is because the effects look dated.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that's a nitpick. Of course they look dated. Look at the year this was made.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that especially in the world of film, and when you add technology layer to film, once you go so far to the high technology, high concept, high utilization of technology, your film suffers its longevity because of that. So the super technological advanced films are remembered for being super good for their era. Right. But when you watch them now, it looks dated. If some of that Matrix stuff was dialed back a little, the film would have aged better, because some of those specific things that the Wachowski sisters and the crew made for this film wouldn't have looked so in the future that it would have pulled back some of what they were, and had it be something that didn't look as, like you said, out of place or hokey. So when you've got the other big piece is going to be camera and production designs.
I want to talk about your effects thing for a second. I want to talk about that for a second, because you're right when you say the way you said. I can forgive a movie that's not known for its effects for not aging well. I think Star Wars, for example, is...
Oh, I don't care if the effects look shoddy.
Star Wars are half and half, because yes, it was like peak in some ways, but then there was a trash can walking around as a robot. So like there is like a level to which we'll forgive that.
And real garbage. Real pieces of trash were used as set pieces.
Right. But then you look at 2001: A Space Odyssey. And while I think that like the story of that movie is not much to speak about, the effects of that movie are so incredible. And you're talking about, that movie was 22 or 3 years old when The Matrix came out. That movie's 50 years old, or it's going to be, sorry, it's about to be 60 years old, that movie. And you're talking about a 60-year-old movie where I think I've watched it in the last 2 years for one of my other podcasts, and the effects are incredible. They're pristine, so it can be done. And so like, and when you look at this movie, like I said, bullet time is pristine. Other things not being pristine is what the problem is like, you've set the bar. I don't care that Star Wars has a trash can walking around, because it's always had a trash can walking around. And but like if you went back and watched 2001: A Space Odyssey and everything looked like, oh, I can do that in my garage now with digital stuff and like as well, you'd be like, that's not that impressive to me. The fact that like if we were given a fairly good budget, we couldn't do 2001's special effects. 2001 was done before the moon landing, before we had an actual image of the entire face of the Earth. That movie was done. And when you think about that, that movie holds up so fucking well. Now,
Agreed.
the lasers are a weird concept of the that's like a stylistic like of the time, but it's
Okay.
not it's not, it doesn't look dated anymore. It just looks like it's like a certain wallpaper that you're like, that's 70s wallpaper. It's like the
Okay. Okay.
wallpaper's perfectly laid down still, but it's 70s wallpaper. And that's what the lasers like show at the end is. But every other effect in that movie
Yeah.
is pristine.
So, and I mean, so you see there are films that go way high on the technology arm or the technology direction that hold up. There's not many of them.
No, no.
And when we were speaking of the Wachowski sisters and their talent, maybe they don't have the talent to extend that the way that they would want to. So Bill Pope is the cinematographer. He shot The Matrix. He also shot Baby Driver, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, obviously the other Matrix films, and Men in Black. So if you even push some of that responsibility to the cinematographer, like there's even situations here where shooting choices were made that don't let this film age well.
Mm-hmm.
And bullet time was cool, but it became such a thing that there are bullet time effects that are added into editing suites now.
Yeah.
Like literally added in.
Doing them properly though is more
Oh,
difficult than
obviously, because for example, doing them properly requires at minimum probably 20 or so identical SLR cameras on triggers to take identical shots of an actor in a space. Like, yeah, it's a whole nother thing
right.
to do properly, but the idea that it became zeitgeist, that we not only call it bullet time, they didn't call it that, we called it that. The editing and the cinematographer team worked with the Wachowski sisters to make this a reality that never existed before. It is its own kind of thing, the way that Sony and Apple teamed up to make entirely custom built, basically sensors on a stick to stick around a Formula One car to shoot F1. None of that shit existed. The cameras existed, lenses existed, but automating them to ride around on a car at 50 to 75 miles per hour and have them rotate, that was what wasn't done in the past the same way. It was full crane rigs put onto not the hero cars, but the shoot cars. Or I remember from being on the set of Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, full chase
It's been a
cars
while
with
since you've
cranes.
mentioned it.
Shut up. Uh,
When I was on the
or,
set of Fever Pitch as an extra.
well, I actually enjoyed being on the set more for the technology part and less for the fact that my
I
arm
loved
was in
watching
that
the
film.
crane. I was like, oh.
Dude, watching that Porsche Cayenne tear around inside that Hawthorne Mall parking deck and having that whole crane automate around appropriately to catch and not like basically back in this era, because that was probably remotely controlled or controlled by someone inside the car, have them smash that camera into a damn concrete pylon. Like, yeah, no, that was fucking cool. But it was the idea that some of this onus for it being known as a technology film and less about a film, or less about the characters, but more about what was used to shoot it and the technology behind it, that falls on the writers, but it also falls on some of the other crew. So I support your rating. You still can be right, just like I am, but I still support your rating being that 9 for quality. I do.
we just finished. This is our last action movie for Action August. September we want to do independent movies. I went to a film
Indie
festival.
September.
Yeah, Indie September. I went to a film festival back in June, and I just was like, oh, we should. Back
Went?
then I thought of it.
Went? No, 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 no.
Attended
Invited as an
as a
attending,
pitcher. Yeah,
as a there. Get it
yeah.
right, son.
So anyway, so I was like, we should, do some, and when I say independent films, I know that people think
Like,
Clerks and Reservoir
no.
Dogs. No, we're doing for next week, and this is the only we have picked out right now. We're going to be doing a movie called Do Us Part, which came out 1 week ago as of recording this in theaters and went on streaming today.
Today.
It's an independent romantic comedy. I think the guy I found it on Instagram and he advertised or whatever. I think he has like 8,000 followers. So like these are I want to like get into it because part of when we started talking, part of our wanting to do this podcast a year ago was we want to watch movies that we have been pushing ourselves to do. And part of the way we formatted the podcast was to teach ourselves about filmmaking.
Yes.
What we can learn from these different things. And we are, I've been writing a script for a feature film, and we're working on a short film. And I'm like, why don't we check out some independent stuff and see what we can find? So we're going to be really trying for the next month to dive back into like real independent. That will probably adjust how our ratings come out. We're not going to be pushing we're not going to be as harsh on some of those as we are on The Matrix or on like big name movies.
Yeah.
But we want to like learn because these movies that we're going to talk about are going to be a lot closer to stuff that we're going to have the capability of making than
True.
we've ever discussed. So Do Us Part is available to rent for $6.99, I think it was, on most of the platforms, Apple, Amazon. And if you want to watch it along with us, that would be great. It will help support that team that created that film. And we will be talking about that next week. Now, if you haven't already, please hit like and subscribe. It helps us a lot. And if you have, liking and subscribing doesn't just mean you get Cinnamon updates, but it means you get all of our Chocolate Diamond updates, including last week we released our first documentary. It's not quite it's like a long short, a documentary. And we really are hoping to get, it was a new thing for us. It kind of, we had vaguely talked about doing a documentary, just out of building our skill set. And then the topic of education in North Carolina fell in our laps because of a lot of political stuff going on, but as well as my son's school not having all the funding that they needed for everything, and finding out that was a statewide problem. So we made a documentary about it, and I hope that you can go check that out and enjoy that. And you can see this is the kind of thing we're working on. And then we're getting back into narrative fiction in the next few weeks. We're going to be working on our short film, Two Blue Lines, which we've talked about in the past. We're gonna really like try to finish that out now that hopefully the heat of the summer is done and we're not going to be shooting with giant pit stains because it is an outdoor movie. So all of that is stuff that you can find on this channel, and that's why you should like and subscribe.
And if you want, if you want to financially support any of the work that Mike just talked about, there is a Patreon that is available. It does have Two Blue Lines specific things that we'll talk about during our independent film month, because we as independent filmmakers not only are looking for support, but we also want to support and highlight independent filmmaking, true low micro budget, mini budget kind of stuff. So for us, if you want to directly support the work that we're doing, if you go to patreon.com and go to the Chocolate Diamond Media page, there is, of course, the classic you pay monthly options, but there's also specific packages and bundles that are just for what we're doing for Two Blue Lines. We'll look forward to seeing you in the future on these episodes, however you interact with the content. We appreciate you coming along in this journey in film. See you next week.